Let's do the 49ers news. They cut Jake Moody today. He was a third-round pick in 2023, had a great rookie season, and then, especially the second half of last year, it kind of sort of fell apart. They're not the only team that has a kicker issue. By the way, Eddy Piñeiro will be the new guy, the former Panther, the well-traveled veteran. The Falcons brought in John Parker Romo, one of 6 kickers who tried out after the big Younghoe Koo miss this past Sunday. They now have 3 kickers on their roster, 2 on the practice squad, and Koo still on the active roster. The Browns notably did not bring anyone in for a tryout today. This after Andre Schmidt. Schmidt happens, missed both an extra point and a field goal this past Sunday, and the Browns lost by only 1 point. Other 49er news, guys. We have injury updates. George Kittle, injured reserve. The earliest he could return is October 12th. Frank, last week, you told me that Brock Purdy was kind of your low-key, super secret MVP pick. Once again, however, it's the same 49ers story. Everybody's hurt.
Right. Which probably props up Brock Purdy for MVP if they can go like 5-0 in this stretch without George Kittle.
I see what you're doing.
But this is just
you're doing there. That's the reverse logic. Okay, I got it.
Hey. This is just too much drama.
I gave it to Josh Allen over Lamar. I mean, last year with Lamar, if you have Derrick Henry, you can't be the most valuable player because you're not being asked to do the same thing. Carry on.
Best players should be MVP, and it's usually Lamar, but maybe not this year. Anyway,
from the Ultra.
There's so much drama with the 49ers now way too early in the season. You got Kittle out, who's a huge crux of their offense, obviously. Jennings is banged up. Purdy is banged up. You got kicker issues after you've used a third-round pick on a kicker. Don't do that, 49ers. That's a bad idea. So they're going into the New Orleans, to the Superdome, and you would think that they could win there, but this is just a mess for the 49ers way too early in the season. They got pretty lucky to win at Seattle. That Brock Purdy touchdown pass was really lucky, by the way. And you just wonder, last year, everything went against the 49ers injury-wise. And you said, okay, I can't repeat. That was so unlucky that they're going to have better fortune that way. And it's just all piling up again. I kind of feel for the 49ers right now, even though they're 1-0, because they're dealing with all this stuff that some teams deal with this in November, December, when you've had 13, 14 weeks, the guy's getting banged up. They're dealing with this week 2. This is bad news for the 49ers, and you just wonder how they're going to get through this stretch without at least George Kittle, one of their really, really key guys.
Yeah, and I would say George Kittle's not only key from a schematic standpoint, but also he really is such a leader of that team. He's got the energy. He has that calming veteran presence. Brock Purdy can do some of that, but he is not wired to be vocal in the way that George Kittle is, or not to the degree that George Kittle is. And I think on one hand, you can say, okay, injuries happen. You do what you can as a team. But I think on the other hand, there is a sense that, well, this is a team that always has this. George Kittle will be 32 years old a month from today. And so you have to start wondering how much of this is decisions the 49ers are making in terms of not just how they train their players, but also how old their players are and what kind of risks they're taking and how much is something else.
Yeah. And look, injuries have been their downfall for a number of years. Generally speaking, if they stay healthy, they're really good. And maybe they make a Super Bowl run. Now, granted, when they did come this close and Jimmy Garoppolo, missed a throw by this much in the back of the end zone in Miami when we all probably had COVID and at that point didn't even know it. If he hits that throw, is it all different? Maybe. And they had injuries that year, and they had injuries a couple of years ago when they lost to the Chiefs as well. But it seems like, to your point, Jory, every single year they have to overcome this, and they're going to have to do it again this year. All right, let's go to New York. We all know that the Jaxson Dart day is coming. We just don't know when. If you believe Brian Daboll, it is not coming this week. Here's the tape. He is sticking with Russell Wilson. Do we have the tape?
You intend to start Russell Wilson this week?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Was that ever?
I mean, and after a game, it's an emotional game. It's a tough game. Didn't play particularly well, I would say, collectively. But in terms of making any of those decisions, really at any position or schematic changes, I'd like to, do it with a clear head and watch the tape and again, like I said yesterday, that game just doesn't fall on Russell Wilson. We got to do a better job collectively, coaching, playing, but Russ will be a starter.
Oh, was that
So that's Brian Daboll yesterday after saying, as he's referencing there after the game, that yes, he's going to stick with them. And then, a day later, he says he's still going to do it. They get the Cowboys this week, a well-rested Cowboys team. Jory, they have to go to Dallas. We all know the Jaxson Dart day is coming. It's that age-old debate. Like, do you let the guy sit and watch and learn? I talked to Derek Carr, not Derek, geez. I mean, I worked with David for a decade and I still call David Derek. I'm sorry, David. Okay. David Carr and I did a show this summer, and we're specifically talking about the Browns' young quarterbacks. And I said philosophically, because remember, David started from day one in Houston, right? He took a beating that year. He also beat the Cowboys in a nationally televised opener in his very first game. But I said, are you for sitting or starting? He goes, absolutely sit. Sit as long as you can. So I get Brian Daboll, like, let's wait. But at the same time, I don't know how you can look at your locker room and if Russell plays the same way as he did week one in week two and say we can't go to Jaxson Dart.
I think there's an element that's great if you're Kevin O'Connell and you say, let's believe in our quarterback before we see him play. But JJ McCarthy is their best option right now. And while I'm not saying Jaxson Dart is no way their best option, they do still have Russell Wilson, and it would not be the first time that preseason would be misleading. I think Jaxson Dart is going to be a better option for the Giants later in this year, but I think that this decision is not going to be primarily made over which player is most ready. I think it is going to be primarily made over, if you're Brian Daboll and you're Joe Schoen and you're trying to keep your job, what are you going to do to keep it? Because even if you think you want to help the team, you can't help the team if you're not working for them anymore. And I think that if you pull the Jaxson Dart trigger now and it looks bad, you're probably not making it through the season if you're the head coach and the general manager who just drafted him. And so I think there's actually some self-preservation here by not going to Jaxson Dart soon, in addition to the argument of, hey, let's try and get the veteran a little bit of time here.
I do agree that there's a lot of self-preservation involved here, but I also think Jaxson Dart is their best option right now. Russ has nothing left. Like, he's just not an NFL starting quarterback anymore. And we've seen it now for many years, multiple years now. I think the Giants would look better with Jaxson Dart under center right now. And I mean, yes, and David Carr, look, I mean, he has more experience than I do, especially getting beat up on a bad team. But you think about the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Burrow didn't sit. Herbert didn't sit. I mean, on and on.
Mahomes
a lot of these guys.
Mahomes did.
Yeah, but he would have been fine
year.
And I think we both agree. Mahomes would have been fine. Josh Allen sat for a half.
This is also about Nathan who you have around you. Like, this is the case in New Orleans too, with Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shaw. If the starter, who's the veteran, doesn't have the guys around him, it's not like all of a sudden that cast magically gets better when the rookie gets in. I mean, I will say I was wrong last year about Drake May, because I felt like they should not have put him in when they did, because the offensive line was such a problem. And when I talked to 20 plus people around the league for a story, they said the number one decider to them would be, can you protect the guy? Ideally protect the guy, run game defense. But I just think when you think about all of the elements that you would want the Giants to have to take pressure off Jaxson Dart in the start, I mean, maybe your defense can get there, but I don't think they look that way against the Washington Commanders.
No, and there's something to be said about the Giants aren't going to start Jaxson Dart until Andrew Thomas is back. Their left tackle is not playing because he's still recovering from an injury last year. I get all that. But at the same time, I do wonder if Brian Daboll is going to be sitting on his porch in 20 years saying, man, I just let those L's pile up with Russell Wilson. I started 0-5 and got fired. I should have just done it. You can almost tell, like, why wouldn't he go to Jaxson Dart? I watched that Giants team not get in the end zone once and said, well, Jaxson Dart can do that. Like, Jaxson Dart can lead 0 touchdown drives. Like, that's not a high bar to climb. So I don't know. I just think that Jaxson Dart's the best player for them right now. I get the self-preservation. I get that you don't want to put him in a bad spot, but I do think Drake May was a good example of us freaking out over that. And then, well, Drake May played pretty well. He played well, and he showed a lot of things. And I don't know. I don't see there being any upside to starting Russell Wilson right now, except if you really truly believe Jaxson Dart is going to be ruined if you start him right away. Okay, I get that, but I don't know that that's the case. Other guys have started early and they've been just fine. So I think Jaxson Dart's their best option, and they're letting him sit on the bench.
But Frank, if you are going the Drake May route, if you're going the Drake May route, then wouldn't you say 5 or 6 games and then you start the guy? Like Drake May did not start week 2.
They should have. I mean, we just overblew that whole like the offensive line is going to get him killed. The same offensive line was playing week 6, and he looked fine. Like he played really well last year, actually. So I don't know. I think Brian Davis. I think they're going to go like 0-3, 0-4, 0-5, and it's going to be like, why? What was the point in starting Russell Wilson? You saw everything you needed to see out of him in the preseason in week 1. I would have gone Jaxson Dart at halftime week 1. Said whatever. Like this offense isn't moving. We look terrible. We're not going to score a touchdown against a really middling Washington Commanders defense. What do you got, kid? Yeah, they had to simplify things in the preseason. Simplify things in the regular season too. I just think that Dart is by far their best option.
I guarantee you we have plenty of time to kick this one, because it's going to be the topic again, whether it's at halftime this week or all throughout next week. We have a minute here. It's also a fascinating organizational conversation, because a lot of people say, well, let your coach, right? Let him make the decision. You shouldn't let the GM or the owner or anyone else get in the way. Sometimes, however, when you're talking about the development and potentially stunting the development and getting a guy beaten up of a rookie quarterback, that you do have to take an organizational view of this entire thing, as opposed to the coach self-preservation view of the entire thing, even at the same time while giving the coach the autonomy, because he is the man in charge. I mean, you did hire the coach to make these decisions. It's an interesting organizational theory, I guess you could say, conversation, which we can continue tomorrow.